Growing up as a child in my mother's care, my mother told me he would always be there. Oh my, now I'm a grown man, living on my own. I can truly say Jesus, he ain't never left me alone. Every now and then I have to tell him, Lord, it's all right to clap your hand. I am on you. Is there anybody listening to me? You ever tell the Lord that sometime, Lord, I'm on you? Let me say it one more time and I'll go ahead and leave y'all alone. Growing up as a child in my mother's care, I never will forget it. My mother told me, said, John, Jesus would always be there. Oh my, now I'm a grown man, living on my own. And I'm so glad today I can truly say, sometimes I lift my hand and said, Jesus, he ain't never left me alone. Hey, no. I am depending on you. Sometimes I tell him, well, ain't nobody but me and Jesus. Lord, I ain't got long to sing, but let's just go ahead and tell the Lord, I'm depending on you. Is there anybody in this place can lift your hand right down the road and tell the Lord, I'm depending on you. Fellas, let's go and drive this thing. Can't sing it long, but let's just tell him, I'm depending. When my money gets funny, when my chains get strange, when my friends get few, don't know what to do, I done found somebody I can lean on. Found somebody I can lean on. And y'all may want to know who I'm leaning on. I'm depending on Jesus. Oh Jesus, there's power in that name. Demons tremble at that name. I love it. Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I want you. Jesus, gotta have. Jesus, I love. Jesus, Lord, I want you. Jesus, Lord, I need you. Jesus, gotta have. Jesus, gotta have. 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 Yeah, Jesus, that's the name. It's Jesus. Yo, that's the name. My burden get lighter. My day gets brighter. Something happens when I call him.
I would like to invite your attention to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 5. Commence reading at verse 12. Luke, chapter 5, verse 12. And it came to pass, when he was in a certain city, behold, a man full of leprosy, who seeing Jesus fell on his face and besought him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And he put forth his hand, and he touched him, saying, I will be thou clean. And immediately the leprosy departed from him. And he charged him to tell no man, but go and show thyself to the priest, and offer for thine cleansing, according as Moses commanded, for a testimony unto them. But so much the more went their fame abroad him, and great multitude came together to hear and to be healed by him of their infirmities. And he went and withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed. Just for a few moments, with your prayers and your participation. I just want to talk once again from the subject. He did it for me. He did it for me. My brothers and my sisters, it is a shame that churches nowadays have to hire hype men and hype women to pump up God's people and get them excited for worship, when we all can testify that God has been so good to us. He has been so kind to us. He has been so loving to us. We must not depend on anybody to pump and prime us just to tell somebody that God is good. We ought to come to church 15 to 20 minutes early and just allow ourselves to simmer in the sanctuary. We ought to take in the Spirit of the Lord. We ought to not let anybody beat us praising God, because at the end of the day, he made a way for us out of no way. And we ought to have a testimony in our heart that he did it for me. There are some people that can shout off grace. Now, if that's you, that's fine. I'm not bothering anybody. But me, myself, I can tear this theater up by myself and shout off his mercy. Because grace is when God gives you something that you don't deserve. But mercy is when he hold back the things that you deserve. And I can be real and keep it 100 with you right here today and testify and say I've been a bad boy. I've done some things that I'm ashamed to talk about. I've said some things that I've had no business saying. I've gone some places that I have no business going. But I'm here to testify and tell somebody I thank God for his mercy, because I could have been sleeping in a cold grave. But right now I'm here to stand in virtual land and tell you that he did it for me. Say what you want. A lot of people can really say what they want. They can even say there were instances in the Bible that they may have thought that Jesus showed up late. Come here, Jairus, come here for a minute, let me bother you. I believe it was you that went and found Jesus, requesting him that he came to your home. and heal your daughter because you told Jesus that she was at the point of death. But when you showed up to the house, the child was already deceased. But Jesus took her by her hand and said, Talitha, come out, which is interpreted, damsel, rise. And if it wasn't for him, she would have never made it. But now I believe J.R.'s were here today. He'll tell you he did it for me. Come here, Mary. Come here, Martha. I believe it was you and your brother Lazarus who were best friends of Jesus. But when your brother Lazarus died, you told Jesus if you had been here, he never would have died. But Jesus said, take me where you have laid him. And Jesus called Lazarus by his name. I'm pretty sure if Mary and Martha was here, they'll tell you that he did it for me. But right here in verse 12, Jesus shows up. And I'm pretty sure there are some people that's out there in virtual land. I'm pretty sure some people on Facebook and YouTube can keep it real with your boy and testify. There have been some times in my life that I know for certain I wouldn't have made it if Jesus had never showed up. There have been some times where my pillow was wet with tears, but I'm here to testify I never would have made it if he had never had showed up. There are some times in my life I had to suffer from a broken heart, but I would have never made it if he had never showed up. There have been some times where I could not even afford to keep the commodities of the house up, but if it had not been for him showing up, I don't know where I would be. Is there anybody up in here that can testify with your boy and say, I thank God that he showed up, because when he showed up, he showed out? Is there anybody can testify that he did it for me? But right here in verse 12, it gives us the substantial proof that Jesus showed up. Because in the last clause of verse 11, it really supports verse 12 because it shows that Jesus is now in motion. And the motion that's being shown is physical and a visual proof that he was not stationary. Watch this. Which suggests to us that if you're going to be a follower for Christ, you cannot be lazy. We have all types of ministries, but when was the last time you developed a street ministry? The presentation that we are being presented with is the proof and the evidence that when Jesus is on the scene, restoration is possible, and the continuation of peril and the problematic situation becomes impossible. We saw that the first thing that the text showed us, it showed us the action of anticipation and acknowledgement. When the man had an obstacle, he still realized he had observation. It also showed us you must accept the absence of your affliction. Okay, watch this. Jesus had healed a hindered human. Luke shows us that after you have took the action of anticipation and acknowledgement, and after you have accepted the absence of your affliction, he said the next thing you must do is accept the administration of an accountable assignment. Watch this. Christ has already intellectually implemented 3 specific instructions. The writer writes 3 instructions right here in verse 14, which contains 5 punctuations. But so many know-it-all scholars will only see 2. Watch this. The first thing that he says is go, which means to depart from your current location. He says you must depart from your current geographical location. In other words, you can't stay here. He says go. Now, I must admit, there are some people that cannot get to the place where God needs them to be because they want to stay put. Too many people Too many people have gotten so comfortable being in the same position and wonder why God will never elevate them. I'm not bothering anybody. But the second thing he tells him, he says, go and show yourself to the priest. The main reason Jesus told him to do this was for his own good. The priest had already had the responsibility of examining the people who had this illness. And once he saw that they were cleansed, it was a possibility that the priest would go ahead and remove the restrictions and allow them to return to society. A lot of us have been segregated and locked down during this pandemic. A lot of us have suffered from depression of staying in the house all day. Can you just imagine the excitement that this brother had? Could you just imagine the astonishment when Jesus healed him? Watch what Luke said. Luke said, after you have took the action of anticipation and acknowledgement, and after you have accepted the absence of your afflictions, and he says, after you have accepted the administration of an accountable assignment, he said, watch it. He said, you will experience an assembly of actual attention regarding an announcement. Watch this. Jesus had told him, he said, tell nobody. He said, don't you tell nobody. But this brother had to tell somebody. Can I just bother somebody? How many of you ever had an encounter with somebody and they told you a story, they said, don't tell. But as soon as you get on the phone, girl, let me tell you something. Don't tell nobody. But so-and-so told me this, and he told me that. He said to the man, he said, don't tell no man. But here it is, the man putting it on Facebook. He putting it on Skype. He putting it on YouTube. He putting it on Snapchat. Look, I'm healed. Jesus done healed me. Look at my skin. My skin is glowing. He said, I just got to tell somebody that he did it for me. Oh, there ought to be somebody that is in a virtual land that can testify that he did it for me. He did it for me. One day when I was lost, yes sir, he died on the cross. And I know it was the blood that saved, that saved me. Yes, sir. How many of you out there today, yes, sir, that can testify, and say that he did it for me? I've had some ups and I've had some downs, but he pulled me up off the ground, and I can testify that he did it for me. Oh yes, there have been times in my life where I had to drink tears for water, but I can testify and say he did it for me. Oh yes, there have been times I had to pace the floor in the midnight hours, but God allowed me to go to sleep at night, and I can testify that he did it for me. There have been times in my life where my body was sick, but Jesus stepped in my room and healed my body. He did it for me. Is there anybody here that can testify and say he did it for me? One Friday on a hill called Calvary, they hung him high and they scratched him wide. They put a crown of thorns around his head. The old soldier came along and pierced him in the side. They took him down and laid him in a tomb. He stayed there all day Friday. He stayed right there all night Friday. He stayed right there all day Saturday. But early a Sunday morning, he got up with all power. Anybody know he got up? He got up with all power in his hands. If you know he got up, let me hear you say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Can I get somebody in this place that can testify? He did it for me. He did it for me. Didn't have to do it. Didn't have to do it. But he did anyhow. If you know he did it, type it in the comment section. He did it. He did it for me. He did it for me. Yes. 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 Yes, he did. He did it. He did it. He did it. He did it. Yes. Yes. I know he's all right.